Good morning. I'm Cindy Silva, Mayor of the City of Walnut Creek, and on behalf of the City Council, I want to welcome you to Walnut Creek's 2019 Veterans Day observance. If you would please stand for the presentation of colors, for the playing of the national anthem, and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Detail. Ho. Right. Bring it. Ho.
With great pride, would you join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Order. Ho. Right. Out. Ho. Detail. Ho. Close. Go. Right. Over. Ho.
Thank you. You may be seated. I would like to thank the Walnut Creek Police Department Color Guard team for their participation today, the Walnut Creek Concert Band under the direction of Harvey Benstein for playing of the Star-Spangled Banner, and Mayor Pro Tem Luella Haskew for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would also like to introduce my other colleagues from the City Council who are here today, Matt Francois, Kevin Wilk, and Justin Waddell. I would like to recognize a number of other dignitaries who are sitting to my left. Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Cahen, who is one of two Assembly members that represent Walnut Creek. Our two county supervisors, Candace Anderson and Karen Mitchoff, both of whom represent Walnut Creek. And from the City of Walnut Creek, please welcome our City Manager Dan Buckshire and our Police Chief Tom Chaplin, as well as a number of members of the Police Command staff who are here today to help us honor those members of the Walnut Creek Police Department and retirees who have given of their time and talents in military service. I also have the pleasure of introducing 8 former mayors who are here today, 2 of whom have military service. Former Mayor Rich Carlston, who was in the U.S. Army, and former Mayor Dick Hildebrand, who was a pilot in the Marine Corps. And 6 other former mayors are here with us: Gwen Regalia and Kathy Hicks, Gary Skrell, Gail Murray, Bill Armstrong, and Merle Hall. Please join me in welcoming them. Most importantly, please join me in recognizing all of the veterans who are here. This observance is about all of you and your service to our country. Would you please rise if you are a veteran? The invocation today will be delivered by Douglas James Myers, a volunteer chaplain for the Walnut Creek Police Department. A Walnut Creek native, Chaplain Myers has worked professionally in education and high tech. Then in 2001, he decided to explore more fully his spirituality. And since his ordination in 2016 as an interfaith minister and chaplain, he has volunteered for us as a police chaplain, offering spiritual support to our police officers and to our members of the community. Chaplain Myers.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let us pause in quiet reflection to offer this prayer. In our individual and personal ways, we call upon the Holy One who sustains our lives and who inspires us to live with compassion and kindness and peace. In the spirit of love and compassion, we honor all veterans who offered military service to our country, and we express our deep gratitude for their courage and selflessness. We honor all veterans with grateful hearts who fought to ensure that we have liberty and freedom and security. The veterans among us today, the veterans of past generations, and especially those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. God bless you. For the women and men who served our country in the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard, we offer our prayer. For the family members who made great sacrifices while their service members were deployed, we offer our prayer. For the families and friends who continue to grieve the death of a service member, we offer our prayer. For the veterans who have been wounded in body, in mind, or in spirit during service to us all, we offer our prayer. And for the veterans who came home suffering with PTSD and couldn't fit in with families and communities, we offer our prayer. And for the young men and women in active service and those in the reserves, we offer our prayer. Divine love, thank you for holding all of our veterans in your grace. Grant them the peace they sought to preserve for us. And as we honor our veterans, we also pray for peace. May peace guide and sustain us to seek ways for all people to live in harmony. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being, by our own right conduct, by the kindness and tolerance we show to one another. Let us work for unity and love. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. May it be so. Amen.
Chaplain Myers, thank you for your words of inspiration this morning and for your service to our police department and our community. Originally called Armistice Day, Veterans Day, November 11, is the day we celebrate and honor those men and women who have served our nation both in times of war and in times of peace. It is a day we can thank America's veterans for their love of country and for their willingness to serve and to sacrifice for the common good. Veterans Day was actually established 100 years ago in 1919 by President Woodrow Wilson to memorialize the end of World War I, the Great War, the war that was considered at the time to be the most destructive, sanguinary, and far-reaching war in the annals of human history. World War I had lasted nearly 5 years, starting in 1914 and ending late in 1918. It had involved 2 continents, and fighting had stopped on November 11th, 1918, at exactly 11 a.m., the hour of the official ceasefire in Europe. Thus, the reason that we commemorate Veterans Day on November 18 at 11 hours. It's been 101 years since the end of World War I, and no veterans of that war are still living. The last American veteran of World War I, Frank Buckles, passed away in 2011 at the age of 110. But our nation still has some 18 million veterans living today, whom we honor on this day, including about 500,000 veterans from World War II. And whether these veterans fought in the trenches of France or in the jungles of Vietnam, whether they spent their days at sea or in the skies, whether they braved the cold winters of Korea or the blistering heat and sands of Iraq, one thing is true: those who have served have a shared experience and bond of understanding that is like no other. Nothing in civilian life approximates the daily and hourly hardships of those serving in the military, and nothing in civilian life builds a sense of loyalty, reliance, or commitment than service in the military. Soldier, sailor, aviator, or Marine, those who have served know what it means to rely on a friend. They know how to look out for someone else because that other person, the buddy who is next to them, is no doubt the one person they can and must rely on to be looking out for them. They know that they fight not just for country or cause, but just as significantly, they fight for those who stand between them and who will protect them from harm. They know that standing together is one of the highest forms of selfless courage. And they know that their commitment to each other is what leads to great acts of heroism. For those who have not served, this sense of commitment and loyalty, this camaraderie, is difficult to fathom. But our speaker this morning may be able to offer some thoughts and insights on what it means to serve and on what it means to come home. U.S. Navy Reserve Lieutenant Commander Katie Eames began her Navy career as a midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy. On her graduation in 2005, she was commissioned as an ensign and designated as a surface warfare officer. Lieutenant Commander Eames served 2 tours of duty at sea, the first aboard the USS Bunker Hill and the second aboard the USS McCluskey. She also served a shore tour at the Defense Information Systems Agency, Europe, which was in Stuttgart, Germany. As a member of the Navy Reserves, Lieutenant Commander Eames has served a deployment in Bahrain and a deployment as an executive officer of a submarine security force unit. Currently, she is an operations officer for a Maritime Sea Lift Command support team. But you might be asking yourself, why is she so important to Walnut Creek? because in her civilian life, she continues to serve, in our case, as a patrol officer for our Walnut Creek Police Department. Please welcome U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander Katie Eames.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this ceremony. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be speaking with you on such a meaningful and important occasion. First and foremost, I want to begin by recognizing and thanking all of those among us who've been part of the great brotherhood and sisterhood we call the U.S. military. Our veterans, active duty service members, guardsmen, and reservists. It is your service and sacrifice that has kept our country safe and free. When you look around this room at the collective military experience, it's amazing and inspiring. No two military careers were the same. We all had unique and wildly different experiences during our time in the service. But the similarities are what stand out right now, and that's what matters. The service members we honor today came from all walks of life, but they share certain fundamental qualities. They possess courage, determination, selflessness, pride, dedication to duty, and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. There's a saying we use in the Navy in our basic training, and I'm sure the other services have similar. We say, ship, shipmate, self. This phrase is drilled into us from day one. It designates our new priorities. It cultivates a mindset that we are no longer the center of our own world, and we serve something bigger than our individual selves. Understanding and living this is something that binds us together as servicemen and women. No matter your branch of service, your job path or designation, or how many years you served, the act of raising your hand and committing yourself to service in the military was incredibly brave and selfless. It was an act that resulted in no guarantees of where you might be assigned, whether and where you might be deployed, and in some cases, if you would return home in one piece or at all. The experiences servicemen and women in the military share create and solidify a camaraderie that can't be replicated. A few of us are fortunate enough, including myself, to continue our service in professions such as law enforcement. We can find a new family bound together by new experiences and traumas. It's similar, but it's not the same. And when our service ends, it can be a struggle to relate to others and create new friendships that aren't built on the strongest foundation of shared struggle over the course of months or years. One thing that's always amazed me is how easy it is to get bogged down in the day-to-day of being in the military that we forget the big picture. The stresses that would overwhelm most people become normal. We adapt and we find a way to manage without paying it much thought. While in the thick of it, we don't think about what it means to serve and what our service means to this country. But what we do on an individual level, taken as a whole, has a huge impact, not only on our country, but on history. And November 11th, Veterans Day, is a great day for all of us to reflect on service and what it means to us, our families, and our country. I think when the average person thinks about veterans, they each have a picture in their head. Some picture the ball cap. I've seen quite a few. They're awesome. Some picture the guy in dirty camouflage sitting in the off-ramp with a sign asking for help. There are many others, I'm sure. But we all know, and it's especially clear looking around this room, that there's no standard veteran. At the end of the day, we're just people. Unique and individual people with lives, families, and dreams. But we're people who at one point made a choice or were chosen to stand up and serve their country. Those of us who had a choice didn't choose to fight with the hope of didn't choose service with the hope of going to fight in some distant war or being away from home for years at a time. And the hardships, no matter how trivial and small, build up and can leave lasting marks. I remember several occasions spending the holidays overseas and the impact it would have on my family and me. I remember one particular Christmas spent deployed in the Middle East, And I still remember sitting there by myself, knowing my family was together without me. I knew it was probably harder on them than me, because I knew I had a job to do. And someone had to do it, and it might as well be me. And going through times like these with my shipmates, knowing we all felt the same way, brought us closer together and made our bond even tighter. I imagine that sentiment is familiar to many that are present here today, veterans and family members alike, because not all sacrifices are made on the battlefield. Many of us joined the service in early adulthood, and for better or for worse, these experiences in the military have forced us to grow up early. They've shaped us and molded us into the people we've become. They've bound us to each other. And for some, these experiences have left them broken, physically or emotionally. Some have been able to put themselves back together, and some have not. And we should never forget those left behind and continue to help and support those who are still struggling. To a large amount of the general population, November 11th is a day off of work and school. However, that is not the case for those of us in this room. The idea of service to country that we have all accepted and embraced has almost become a foreign concept, and it sometimes feels like the average citizen does not pay it much thought. The average American or politician can be quick to want to send the military overseas to fight. Not everyone always remembers that the soldier, sailor, Marine downrange is not just a number, but it's someone's child, it's someone's parent or spouse, it's someone who will be missed. Their absence will leave a hole in the lives of their loved ones while they're gone. And they will need to fight to find their place in the world when they return and realize that life has gone on without them. They're real people with lives and families, hopes and dreams, and they deserve to be recognized, especially today. Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day, and it was designated as a day to celebrate the end of World War I. The First World War ended on November 11, 1918, and the legislation that created Veterans Day was, I quote, dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. As time went on and the United States continued to engage in further conflicts in World War II and Korea, veterans groups lobbied for change. So rather than honoring the armistice and only those who served in World War I, the holiday would come to honor all veterans. And we've rightly honored their service and sacrifice ever since. So today, we honor and show appreciation to our service members and remember the sacrifices that they have made on and off the battlefield. We honor and show respect for the courage it takes to put one's life on the line to defend this country. We stand here today in the company of patriots, in the family and friends of those who have faithfully served. Thanks to those who have served and those who continue to serve today, America can sleep peacefully at night. Each and every one of you should be proud. Service members, be proud of your service. Family, friends, and other supporters here today, be proud of the support you've given. I promise it has made a difference. Thank you all for attending, and for all the veterans, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander, for your thoughts and insights on the personal sacrifices of military service and on the importance of remembering our veterans, not only on Veterans Day, but every day of the year. I would like to take a moment to thank all of those here in the audience who actually just saw their photos come up. Though all of the photos in that video were in fact members of the Walnut Creek community at some point in time, some of whom were born here, some of whom are former mayors, some of whom are the spouses of former mayors. And it is a true honor to be able to recognize all of you, and thanks to our multimedia producer, Liz Payne, for producing that for us. In her remarks, Lieutenant Commander Eames mentioned a few of her police colleagues who have military service. We would now like to acknowledge each of the members of the Walnut Creek Police Department who have served or continue to serve our country.
Officer John Barrientos, Staff Sergeant, United States Air Force. Officer Curtis Borman, Seaman, United States Navy. Detective Tom Brown, Sergeant, United States Army. Officer Jacob Cheney, Staff Sergeant, United States Air Force. Reserve Sergeant Alan Christensen, Machinist Mate 3rd Class, United States Navy. Lieutenant Sean Conley, Specialist, United States Army. Reserve Officer Tom Davis, Machinist Mate 2nd Class, United States Navy. Detective Wallen Deng, Sergeant, United States Army. Officer Rich Farrow, Master at Arms, 1st Class, United States Navy. Officer Mark Gonzalez, Private 1st Class, United States Army. Sergeant Jose Izquierdo, Corporal, United States Marine Corps. Reserve Sergeant Robert Moore, Captain, United States Marine Corps. Reserve Officer Don Murphy, Specialist, United States Army. Officer Ryan Pastor, United States Air Force. PSO Ryan Ramos, Hospital Corpsman 3rd Class, United States Navy. Officer Chris Solorio, Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant Ross Sutton, Specialist, United States Army. And Reserve Officer John Davison, Specialist, United States Army.
Would you please rise if you're here? It is truly an honor to be able to acknowledge the sacrifices each of you have made on behalf of our country, and to thank you for the work that you do for our community. Now, as we bring today's ceremony to conclusion, the Walnut Creek Concert Band is going to help us thank all of our veterans. We invite you to stand, clap, and sing along as the band plays its salute to each of the branches of the armed forces. closing, I would again like to thank Lieutenant Commander Eames for her keynote remarks, Police Chaplain Myers for leading the invocation, the Walnut Creek Concert Band and Director Harvey Benstein, and the Walnut Creek Police Department Color Guard team. Please join me in thanking all these people. I would also like to thank a number of people who helped us organize today's event. Betsy Burkhart, our Communications and Outreach Manager for the city. Again, Liz Payne, our multimedia producer. Police Chief Tom Kaplan, his command staff, and the Chief's Executive Assistant, John Haithcock, and the staff and volunteer ushers of the Lesher Center for the Arts. Finally, I want to thank all of you for being here today to help us honor our veterans. It was a pleasure, it was an honor, and it just touches all of us because up here we can see how many of you are out there. So thank you. And now to close, our concert band will march us out with John Philip Sousa's The U.S. Field Artillery March. Thank you, everyone, again.